In this lecture, I am going to create update profile API endpoint for an user. I am going to add profile photo and profession columns to our users table. For this, I will generate a new Maxence file. From our project root, I will open a new terminal and then I will run php make migration and then the migration file name. I am giving the file name like this. You can provide any other file name and then the table name. Let's run this command. This will generate a new Maxence file for us inside our database Maxence folder. Let's open the newly created Maxence file and then let's add profile photo and proportions column to this newly created Maxence file. If you want to allow the user to update any other record like date of birth, gender, you can add those columns to your Maxence file and then inside the down method I'll drop the columns. So whenever we'll roll back our Maxence file, this should drop profile photo and profession columns from our users table. Now from our project root, let's run php migrate command to run newly created Maxence files. Now let's refresh our users table. We have profile photo and professions columns now inside our users table. Now I will create a new route for profile updation. Let's open our api.php file and then let's add a new route. Route method will be post and URL will be profile slash profile hyphen update. And okay, instead of profile hyphen update, let's name it to update hyphen profile. And it will execute profile controllers update underscore profile method. This route should be protected. That's why I'm adding awesome middler to this route so that an user need to provide API token through authorization header to update his profile. Now let's open our profile controller and then let's add a method called update underscore profile inside our profile controller. Let's get request object as a dependency injection to this method. Now I'm going to add validation rules for name, profile photo and professions column. Let's take the code from our change underscore password method. So we already added validation rules for name field inside our auth controller during registration. So let's take the validation rules for name field from here and paste it here. It should be name and the rule should be required min of 2 characters and max of 100 characters. And then let's add validation rules for profession field. So profession field should not be required all the time, so it should be nullable and max of 100 characters. And then let's add the validation rule for profile photo. So we can take the validation rules for our profile photo field. Sorry, this will be profile photo, not profession. Profile photo. So the validation rule for profile photo should be nullable and it should be valid image. If user is updating his profile photo, then this profile photo should be a valid image and then MIME should be JPG, PNG or BMP. Let's check the MIME times which is inside our block controller. So JPG, BMP and PNG. So let's copy the MIME steps from here. So that's it for the validation rules. And if validation fails, then I will return a JSON response message validation fails, and inside this error case I will return the validation error messages. And if validation passes, then I will check if user is updating his profile photo or not. Before checking that, I will store currently authenticated user data to a variable called $user, and we can get currently authenticated user data from request user method because our update profile endpoint is protected, so that an user need to provide API token through authorization header, then only we can get currently authenticated user data from this request user method. And then I will check if user is updating his profile photo. Okay, so I'll check request has file, that means user is uploading the file, and inside this has file method let's provide the file name which is profile photo, that means user is updating his profile photo. Then I will check If the user already uploaded any photo for his profile, then I'll remove the photo. Okay, so I'll check if user profile photo, that means user has already a profile photo, then we'll remove the photo. But we did not upload any photo for any user, so we are going to upload the photo inside public uploads and then profile images folder. So let's create a new folder called profile underscore images, and we are going to delete the old images from this profile underscore images folder for any user. So if user is updating his profile photo, then we are checking if user has already a profile photo, then we'll remove the photo from this profile underscore images folder. So we can take the code from our block controllers update method. So let's store the old path to a variable called $old path, and our old path for profile images is uploads profile images and then the image name. Let's provide the image name, which will be user profile photo, and then we are checking if file exists, then we'll remove the file. Because we are using file facade, we need to import this at the top of our profile controller. So let's import file at the top of our profile controller. So this will remove the old profile photo, and if user is updating his profile photo, then we need to upload the image, right? Inside this uploads profile images folder. So let's take the code from our update block method and paste it here. Let's generate the image name for newly uploaded image with the help of time helper, and let's prepend profile photo here or profile image, and this should be request profile photo, and we can upload the image with the help of move method, and inside this move method we need to provide the exact path. So we are going to upload the image inside uploads profile images folder, and if user is not uploading his profile image, then this image name should be the previous uploaded image name, which we can get from this request object, right? And then we will update the other record along with image name. So we are going to update username, which we will get from request object, and we are going to update user profession. This will come from request object also, and then the profile photo, which will be the image name we stored to this $image name variable. Okay, because we are going to update the record with this update method, we need to add profession and profile photo as a field level property to our user model. So let's open our user model, and then let's add profession and profile photo as a field level property to our user model, and then after updating user record, I'll return a JSON response with message profile successfully updated. Now let's test profile update endpoint from Postman. Let's open Postman, and then let's open a new tab, and then let's provide the request URL, and the URL will be our base URL slash API slash profile slash update hyphen profile, and the API method should be post. Let's pass except as application slash JSON. Let's execute this endpoint without providing any API token through authorization header. We are getting unauthenticated message. So let's generate an API token through our login API for this user, and then let's copy the API token and paste it inside our authorization header along with period text. Now we are getting validation error messages. So let's provide name field inside the body, and let's check what we have as a name for this user. We have Tom Doe. Okay, so let's change it to John Doe. Let's execute this endpoint. You see we are getting profile successfully updated message, and let's refresh our database. You see name is updated. Okay, so our profile update functionality is working. Now let's check our profession and profile photo. Profession is not required all the time, so let's add profession value web developer, and then let's add profile photo, and it should be a file, right? Change it to file, and then let's upload a new image. Let's upload this image for now. Execute this endpoint. You see inside our profile underscore images folder we have a new image, right? And if I check our database, you see profession column also updated, right? Now let's upload another image. Profile successfully updated, right? So you see the old images is not removing, right? So let's check what is happening. So I think I have done some mistakes during block update and delete functionalities. So I have done small mistakes. So I have to provide slash here for the old path, public path slash uploads profile images slash the image name. So I have to rename the path also inside our block controller, I think. So if I check our block controller's update method, this is a silly mistake I have done. Sorry about this. So for the old path, I need to provide the slash here, our public path slash upload slash blog images. Similarly, I have to provide the slash inside our delete method, old path variable. You see, I am providing a slash here. Okay. Now let's go to our profile controller, and now let's check our update profile functionalities. So let's remove an image from here because this was the old image, right? So because we are going to check that file is removing or not. Now let's upload another image for this user. Now you see we have only one image inside this profile underscore images folder, which is this one which I just uploaded, right? That means our update profile functionality is working. Now if I call our getBlocks API endpoint, you will find that we are returning user data for each block. Which user created this block? We are returning those data, and we are returning profile photo, and this is the profile photo name, not the image URL. So we need to add image URL for each user. So I'll generate a method inside our user model. So exactly what we did for the blog images. So we created an attribute method inside our blog model. Similarly, I'll do for user model. I'll create a method called get image URL attribute, and from this method I'll return asset, and then inside this asset I will pass the path, and I have to pass profile images, and then the profile photo, which is the profile photo field name. Okay, now let's execute this endpoint. Okay, before getting the image URL for each user, we need to append that key, right? Similarly, what we did for blog model. So you see, we added image URL to this appends array. So we need to add image URL to this appends array inside our user model. Let's remove this from here. We do not need human readable. Now let's execute this endpoint. You see, now we are getting image URL. Okay, so let's change it to profile image URL. Okay, instead of get image URL, let's change it to profile image URL, and let's change it to profile underscore image underscore URL. Okay, and suppose an user don't have any profile image URL, then don't have any profile image, then we should return default image, right? So we need to return default image. You see, for this user of ID 2 don't have any image, that's why we are not getting any profile image URL. For those user who don't have any profile image, I'll return a default image. Okay, so I'll check if this profile photo, that means user has a profile photo, then we'll return the image URL. And if user don't have any profile photo, then I'll return gravatar image URL. So there is a package called UI gravatar or UI avatar, I think. So we can use UI avatar images for default images. So let's call this endpoint. You see, we're getting some default images. So let's return this image URL and let's pass username as URL encoded. So let's call URL encode, and then I need to pass username. Okay, now let's execute this endpoint and let's check what we get for this user ID. So we are getting this image. Okay, let's call this URL from the browser. So this will return this image for this user of name Teen, right? So let's check what is the name for this user, Teen Smith, right? So we are providing image name here. Okay, so it is providing us this image for this user. Also we can pass background color. So let's pass background color random. So it will pick a random background color for the image. Let's execute this endpoint. Sorry, we have to execute this endpoint. Now we are getting, okay, I think there's a small mistake. I think we need to pass plus icon here, right? So instead of URL encode, URL decode, I need to pass URL encode. I wrongly pass URL decode. So this should be URL encode. Okay. Now let's execute this endpoint and let's open it and provide the URL in the browser. Now we are getting TS with a light background, let's execute this endpoint. You see we are getting random color for the default images, and we have users user names first letter and users surnames first letter in the image, like TS, because the username is Tin Smith. Okay, so we have successfully done our update profile API endpoint. So that's it for Laravel REST API. So if you like my videos, you can subscribe my channel for future videos.